everyone, it's Devin here again from Sweet Notes Bakery, and today we are going to be making bread pudding. Bread pudding is really easy, it's super versatile, and it gives you kind of a nice basis to add all kinds of fun flavors. I could eat it any time of the year, but I love making it near Christmas and in the winter because it's a warm, really like hearty, delicious dessert that pretty much everyone loves. So let's get started. So for this recipe, you're going to need 5 cups of cubed bread. You can do any kind of fruit or kind of fun flavor that you want. For this one, I'm using raisins. I like raisins and apples together, just apples. So you could do chocolate chips instead, butterscotch chips, kind of anything you want. You will need 2 eggs beaten together with half a teaspoon of vanilla and a teaspoon of cinnamon. And then on the stove, on low, you want 2 cups of milk, 1/4 cup of butter, and let's see, a whole cup of brown sugar. I use light brown sugar, but you could use light or dark, whatever your preference. Okay, so you want to cube up your bread. As far as different kinds of bread, the one that I would recommend is like a French bread or an Italian. They're a bit fluffier, they have more of like an open texture and usually have a really nice crust on the outside. This doesn't have to be the freshest bread that was just baked, and that's the great part about it. It's a great way to use bread before it goes bad. So you could go to the value section of your supermarket and get day-old bread and use for bread pudding. It will have just as much flavor, but you want a nice fluffy bread like this so that it soaks up all of the milk and the butter goodness. So I have that in a bowl here. And to that, we are going to pour our milk, butter, and brown sugar mixture over top. We're just waiting for our butter to melt here. Behind me, I have the oven preheated to 350. It's a convection oven, so it says 325. Convection is best. If you're doing a regular baking, if you have a slightly older stove or oven, what you can do is you can put it up to 375 and do that for the first 20 minutes and then knock it down to 350, and that should bake just as evenly. So that's ready to go. We're working on that. So to the bread, we're going to add whatever flavoring you're doing. So like I said, I'm doing raisins. A coworker has asked me to make her bread pudding. I've made it for her a couple of times. She absolutely loves it, and she is from the Dominican Republic. So she has asked for raisins, and I thought as a fun surprise, I have already soaked the raisins in rum. So they sat in Bacardi for about 2 hours, and then I did drain them and kind of dry them to get some of the excess moisture off, but that is going straight into the bread, and I think is going to add a really cool flavor. So we'll put that in there. I want to make sure you get them all, no one left behind. And keep stirring this. You do want to do it on a medium to low heat because you do want to melt the butter and the sugar and bring it all together, but you don't want to curdle the milk or it will throw your entire pudding off. So while that is finishing, I'm just going to stir in the raisins. Like I said, I've done this with apples. It's really good. Just squeeze some lemon juice over the apples and throw some cinnamon in with them. Mix that up and then mix that into the bread. And it is delicious. I made that near Christmas. And then we've got everything else ready here. Oh, bread overboard. All right, so it looks like our mixture's ready. You want to make sure you pick a big bowl for your bread because, like I said, you're adding all of your different flavors in here as well as the liquid on top of that and stirring it. So you want to make sure you have plenty of space so that all of the bread is evenly coated and can soak it all in. Just waiting for the last of the butter to melt. But this is really good, and she is so excited to get it. So this recipe I'm doubling. So this recipe here is a double. You can cut it in half and do an 8x8 pan. I'm taking it to her in a nice 13x9. It's a deeper like roaster. It gives some space for the bread to grow when it's in the oven there. And then I can just pop a lid on this and she can take the entire thing home with her. So the recipe that we're going through today, like I said, is actually what I use for a 13x9 size. You can have all the ingredients and do an 8x8, so 1 egg instead of 2 cups of milk, just 1, etc. All right, looks like we are good to go. So I'm going to pull this off the heat. And I'm just gonna pour this all over the bread. Like I said, we will stir it in. It's okay if it looks a little chunky, so to speak. That is your butter mixing in with the sugars. So now you just want to stir it all in. You want to be kind of gentle at this stage because you don't want to break up those cubes too much. If you do, then you're going to lose that beautiful look to the bread pudding. And you're going to see that the 5 cups of bread get a lot smaller when you add all that liquid. So now it's time to go into the pan. You do want to make sure you grease the pan beforehand. I just used a cooking spray. You can butter and flour if you want, but this isn't something that usually really sticks. So we'll put that right here. And we will dump this in and spread it out so it's nice and even. Want to make sure every bite has bread and sugar and milk and those delicious rum-soaked raisins. I'm kind of jealous that she gets it and I have to give it all away, but I think it's going to be delicious. So then we want to take our egg mixture, which I have here, just whisked it in the bowl, and we're going to pour it right over top. You don't have to mix this in. It will bake evenly throughout, so don't worry about that. Just kind of drizzle it over top. Let's get all our cinnamon and vanilla in there. If there's another flavor that you liked more, you can certainly do that. You could use an almond extract or perhaps orange. And if cinnamon's not your favorite, you could certainly use something else. I have made pumpkin bread pudding, which was really good, and I added like a pumpkin pie spice, which was delicious. So we're almost ready to go in the oven. This isn't in the recipe. What I like to do is top it with a little bit of cinnamon sugar. So by sprinkling that over top, you get a little more sweetness, but it also creates this really gorgeous crust on top, which gives you a nice crunch, and it looks pretty too. So I'm just sprinkling that over top. Again, that's totally optional. There are so many different things that you can do with bread pudding, I think, which is why I like it. You can also make sauces. I've made a vanilla butter sauce that goes with this, which is delicious, and you can serve that on the side. People can add that as they want, or you can drizzle it right on top before you serve it. That's really good. You could do some kind of chocolate sauce, all depending on the actual theme and style of your bread pudding. Okay, so it's all evenly coated with the sugar. So now we're going to put it in the oven. It's going to bake for about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, but you can kind of judge depending on how big the amount is. If you're having the recipe, you want to start to check it at 40 minutes. Should be golden brown on top, but it's okay if it's soft in the center. You can serve it warm or cold. I like to let it sit at room temperature, cool down, and then pop it in the fridge. You do want to refrigerate it if it's out for too long, because there is a lot of milk in it. But it is absolutely delicious. So I hope that my coworker really enjoys her second batch of bread pudding with a little bit of surprise in the raisins. And hopefully I'll be coming to you guys again soon with another awesome recipe. I'm thinking cheesecake. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.